My best friend got pregnant by my boyfriend. My family was the first to find out about it and didn't tell me, so I ran away from home. This story unfolds over the last 15 years and has profoundly shaped my life. I'm a 33-year-old woman, and I need to share this journey that began when I was a high school senior, believing my life was on the right path. At that time, I lived with my parents and 4 siblings. My brothers aged 23 and 22, and my sisters aged 20 and 14. My days were filled with moments spent alongside my best friend, Ashley, who was also 18, and my boyfriend of 3 years, Kyle, who was 20. Ashley and Kyle have been part of my life since childhood because our parents were close friends. We grew up together, celebrating holidays, birthdays, and enjoying countless visits as we all resided in the same town. Ashley and I were inseparable, having been friends for 18 years. She was someone I trusted completely. Similarly, Kyle and I had a strong relationship, discussing future plans like marriage once he graduated college. Despite my ambitions for university, I was open to the idea of marrying Kyle and embracing life as a stay-at-home mom, a path my parents supported. It's worth mentioning that my relationships were intertwined with family, as my 20-year-old sister was dating Kyle's 23-year-old brother, making our sibling bonds quite close. However, a significant turn occurred at the start of one school year when I noticed Ashley seemed unusually sad and withdrawn. After some encouragement from me, she revealed she was pregnant. This news was shocking since I was unaware she had broken up with her boyfriend and hadn't been involved with anyone else to my knowledge. When I inquired about the baby's father, Ashley was reluctant to disclose his identity but hinted it might be her ex. Seeing her so upset, I chose not to press further and instead focused on supporting her. During Ashley's pregnancy, I stood by her side through every step, from attending ultrasound appointments and doctor visits to supporting her through school bullying and helping set up the nursery. I threw her a baby shower, accompanied her on shopping trips for the baby, and even joined her in parenting classes. Her parents, though initially disappointed, promised to support her decisions but were also kept in the dark about the father's identity. A secret Ashley made me promise to keep. Ashley and I went through the process of picking out baby names together, and she even asked me to be by her side in the delivery room. I could see that being pregnant was really hard on her, both emotionally and physically, and I did everything I could to support her. She was my best friend, always there for me, and I loved her dearly. About 2 weeks before her due date, I was at the mall running errands when I bumped into her ex-boyfriend. Despite my promise never to reach out to him, seeing my friend struggle so much made me really angry, and I couldn't help but confront him. I let him have it, telling him how terrible he was for abandoning Ashley while she was pregnant and not caring about his unborn child. He looked genuinely shocked and told me he had no idea what I was talking about. Ashley had never told him about the pregnancy. When I mentioned that she was 9 months pregnant, he said it couldn't be his because they had broken up over a year ago and hadn't been together since then. I was confused but apologized for lashing out at him in public. After that, he got defensive, said some mean things, and suggested I should ask Kyle if he might be the father. At the time, I didn't really think much of his comment. Kyle and Ashley had been friends their whole lives, and our families were close, but there had never been any signs of them being more than friends. That evening, my younger sister, 14F, and I were getting ready for a movie night. I started venting to her about confronting Ashley's ex and what he had said. Usually my sister is pretty outspoken, but this time she got really quiet and didn't say much back. After a bit, she excused herself to go to the bathroom. While she was gone, I went downstairs to grab some snacks and overheard my younger sister angrily talking to my mom. This part is a bit blurry for me because I was so overwhelmed with emotions. My sister was telling my mom about my encounter with Ashley's ex and his insinuation, and she said she couldn't keep hiding from me that Kyle was actually the father of Ashley's baby. Hearing this left me completely stunned. I walked into the kitchen in disbelief and demanded to know what was going on. When my mom and sister saw me enter the kitchen, their faces went completely pale and my sister burst into tears. She began to explain, with some details later filled in by others, that towards the end of summer break, Kyle and Ashley had ended up at the same party. They drank too much, slept together, and Ashley became pregnant. She told Kyle, but both felt too ashamed and scared to tell me directly. They kept it from their parents initially, but Ashley eventually confided in her own parents, who then informed Kyle's parents and subsequently mine. This all unfolded during Ashley's first trimester. By her second trimester, all our siblings were aware of the situation except for me. The shock made me physically sick for days, and I found myself unable to talk to anyone. My parents tried to apologize, saying they wanted to spare me pain and avoid damaging relationships. Kyle and Ashley tried to reach out numerous times through messages, calls, and even visiting my house, but I couldn't face them. At one point, Kyle's mom visited me at home, pleading with me to forgive them and stressing how much Ashley and the baby needed me. I couldn't respond. 2 weeks later, Ashley went into labor. It was a difficult birth. She lost a lot of blood and required an emergency C-section with Kyle by her side. I was heartbroken and felt betrayed on so many levels. I had been looking forward to supporting Ashley during the birth, and now I was too emotionally shattered to be there. My older sister rushed to the hospital to be with her boyfriend, leaving me at home with just my parents. All I wanted was to stay in bed or find comfort in my mom's embrace. Then my mom got a call from Ashley's mom. After the call, she told me that she and my dad were heading to the hospital. I begged her to stay with me instead, but she explained that Ashley's parents needed their support. We would have to talk about everything later. I pleaded with my mom, asking her not to leave because I needed their support too. However, she told me not to be selfish, and then they were gone. Alone in the house, I struggled to make sense of everything that had happened over the past few weeks. It was hard to accept that my parents would choose to support someone who had caused me so much pain, leaving me to cope on my own. Was it selfish of me to feel this way? I wasn't sure, but as time passed, my sadness morphed into a kind of anger I'd never felt before. Overwhelmed by these emotions and a sense of betrayal, I began to pack my bags, determined to leave home. However, doubts soon crept in, and I found myself sitting in the living room feeling utterly hollow. Then a message from my sister arrived. It announced that Ashley had given birth to a healthy baby girl, and both were doing fine. She attached a photo of the newborn and mentioned they named her Sarah, a name Ashley and I had picked out together months before. A follow-up message informed me that my parents and sister were heading out with Ashley's and Kyle's families to celebrate at a local bar. After reading those messages, my memories become hazy. I was overwhelmed by everything. Eventually, I left. Catching a train, I ended up in Phoenix, where I stayed in a hostel for some time. I found a job at a store and made plans to finish high school there. My family, including Kyle and Ashley, tried to reach out. My mom sent frantic voicemails begging me to come back home. They even reported me missing, though it didn't lead anywhere since I was 18 by then. Not long after I arrived in Phoenix, I crossed paths with Dean, a 21-year-old who also had a tough time with his family. We clicked almost instantly and became good friends. Dean was a huge help during a period when I was really struggling. I was clueless about how to look after myself or how to navigate adulthood. He introduced me to his friends, supported me in finishing high school, and I even moved in with him and his roommates. He was there for me as I tried to heal from my past hurts. I was going through a rough patch, and even though I thought about seeing a therapist, it was out of my financial reach. Dean's support was unwavering, and I doubt I could have made it without him. After a year of friendship, we started dating. Dean received some money from his grandfather's will and decided to relocate to a major city across the country. Despite our relationship being fairly new, he asked me to join him. I hesitated at first because of the emotional baggage we both carried and my own insecurities, but I ended up going with him. We moved, found jobs, and did our best to get by. Right after I turned 21, we made the spontaneous decision to get married. It felt crazy at the moment, but we went through with it. I started college and Dean supported me financially. He launched his own business, which eventually took off, allowing us to live more comfortably. While I was in college, I also worked part-time to help out. We faced many challenges but managed to pull through. After graduating, I began working at Dean's company, and we worked together to grow the business. Looking back, I realize I might not have been in love with Dean when we got married. I cared for him deeply, but it wasn't quite love yet. However, he always stood by me, offering his unconditional support. Now I can't imagine loving anyone more than I love him. He truly is the love of my life. My husband and I have been together for 12 years now, and we're parents to a 2-year-old boy and his 6-month-old brother. There were moments when I regretted leaving my family behind, but going back was never an option for me. It hurt too much. It felt as though my parents had chosen my siblings, Ashley and Kyle, over me. At 25, I sought therapy to work through these feelings. Then, at the onset of the pandemic last year, I received an unexpected email from a 14-year-old girl named Evelyn, who revealed she was my niece, my older sister's daughter with Kyle's brother. She had heard about me and was curious to meet. Although hesitant, we began exchanging emails. Evelyn was unaware of the events from 15 years ago, so our conversations remained light, focusing on her school and interests. Through her, I learned about my extended family, including 10 nieces and nephews. I discovered that Kyle and Ashley got married 4 years after I left, and they had 2 sons in addition to Sarah. My parents maintained their relationship with Kyle and Ashley's families, which made it seem like they had moved on without me. Evelyn attempted to broach the subject of what happened years ago, but I didn't feel it was appropriate for me to explain, so I simply told her that relationships can change and life sometimes leads us on different paths. We kept in touch sporadically for nearly a year. In an email this January, she shared how the pandemic had significantly impacted her family. My parents were struggling to keep their house, and both my brothers had lost their jobs and were finding it hard to manage financially. I was taken aback by her awareness of these details at such a young age, noting that the economic strain was also causing tension between her own parents. These revelations stirred up a mix of guilt and regret in me, compounded by the emotional roller coaster of having just had a baby. I discussed these feelings with my husband, who assured me of his unwavering support regardless of what I decided to do. Fortunately, we were in a stable financial position. The pandemic hadn't hit us as hard. While we weren't wealthy, we were managing to live comfortably. After learning more and discussing it with Dean, we chose to assist my parents with their housing situation. A week ago, we flew back to my home state, marking the first time I had seen my family in 15 years. The reunion was filled with a whirlwind of emotions for me: regret, old wounds, and feelings of betrayal. My parents seemed relieved to see me, but the day was undoubtedly strange. We had a long talk and agreed to work towards a polite relationship. It's been so long, and interacting with them feels awkward at times, almost as if they're strangers to me. Dean and I spent a week there continuing our discussions, and I started to believe we could build a cordial, if distant, relationship. However, things took a turn when my mom insisted I have a sit-down with Kyle and Ashley. She expressed a desire to return to how things were before. I refused, explaining that while I've moved on, I have no connection with them now and don't wish to dredge up the past. I was open to rebuilding ties with my immediate family, partly because of my growing affection for my niece, but I wanted nothing to do with Kyle, Ashley, or their family. I never asked them to cut ties with their friends, but I was clear about not wanting a relationship with them. Dean backed me up on this. My mom accused me of being selfish and insisted that I should try to mend our relationship. I stood firm, telling her it was her choice whether she wanted a relationship with me or not. She agreed at first, but then, just 2 days later, I got a call from Kyle's mom. I never gave her my number, and she actually demanded that I talk to Kyle and Ashley. She claimed my coming back was causing problems in their relationship and affecting their emotional well-being. I just hung up on her. Right after that, I called my mom to confront her about it. Turns out she was the one who gave Kyle's mom my number, thinking it would help fix things between us. I told her it felt like she was choosing them over me once again. She started crying and shouting, calling me selfish for not wanting to patch things up. I ended up hanging up on her too. It's been several days since I've spoken to any of them. Despite this, both my mom and Kyle's mom haven't stopped trying to call me. Even though I'm pretty sure I'm in the right here, focusing on what's best for me, my husband, who's been completely supportive, and our kids, I can't help but feel a bit of regret creeping in. I'm starting to wonder if I should give in and talk to Ashley and Kyle. Part of me is even questioning whether my reaction 15 years ago was too much. Am I really being selfish by not trying to mend things? I could really use some advice or opinions on what to do next. All of this has made me start to doubt so many choices I've made in my life. I feel completely lost and unsure about how to move forward. Update 2 years later. So much has happened in the past few years, and not all of it has been good. To keep this brief, I hadn't talked about my younger sister in my original post. After I moved out, she also had a falling out with our parents and stopped talking to them when she was 20. Our older sister gave me her number, and although it was awkward to reconnect after 15 years, we started talking again. She was initially upset with me for leaving. She's had a tough time, but now has a toddler and a baby, and somehow having kids of our own has brought us closer. She's become my best friend, and we talk daily. Regarding my other siblings, I keep in touch with my brothers, though we're not very close. My relationship with my older sister is good now, though we had a period last year when we didn't speak much because she's married to Kyle's brother, which made navigating our family drama difficult. We're on good terms now, and I adore my nieces and nephews. I decided not to attend my niece's birthday party. It felt like it would be too difficult for me. Now, about my parents, this part is tough for me. My mom kept pressuring me to talk to Kyle and Ashley, which lasted for months after I returned home. It felt like emotional blackmail. She blamed me for various problems in her life, including her health issues and her friendship troubles, even accusing me of keeping her from seeing her grandchildren. When my daughter was born last June, my mom's behavior escalated. She called over 100 times a day and sent messages every 20 minutes about things I didn't care about, including updates on people I wanted nothing to do with. When she started harassing Dean, my patience ran out. I was hesitant to block her, so I talked to my dad instead. It was the first real heart-to-heart conversation we'd had in 17 years. I was emotionally exhausted, overwhelmed by taking care of 3 kids, and just fed up with everything. I ended up sharing all my feelings with him. I'm not sure what happened after our talk, but her calls finally stopped. Something must have changed because by August he had filed for divorce. My dad and I keep in touch, but things between us are far from how they used to be. My mom, on the other hand, is having a really hard time. In August, her calls got out of control, not just to me, but to others as well. I've since changed my phone number, and as of February, she hasn't been able to contact me. One of my brothers mentioned that she's struggling with anxiety and depression and has lost many friends. I'm not sure if she's still in touch with Kyle and Ashley's family, and frankly, I don't want to know. I've made the decision to cut ties with her completely. The things she's said about me, my husband, who she barely knows, and after 15 years of no contact, are just too much. While it's sad not to have a relationship with my mom, trying to fix what little is left would only drain me emotionally and feel like an endless struggle. Regarding Kyle and Ashley, I've had a few attempts from Kyle's mom to reach out, as I mentioned before. I blocked her, and since then, no one else has tried to contact me. I have no idea what's going on with them and haven't been in contact at all. The only thing that did happen was that in August, when everything fell apart, my brother-in-law, Kyle's brother, gave me a letter supposedly from Ashley. I haven't opened it, and I'm not sure I want to. Part of me has moved on, but another part is curious about what she could possibly say after all these years. Yet opening it might just stir up old feelings. Right now, I'm doing okay. My kids and Dean, who's been incredibly supportive through everything, are my focus. I'm trying to concentrate on my family and hope that this chapter of my life is truly behind me. Update 2. Hello, everyone! I'm not sure who will end up reading this, but I wanted to share an update. Over the past few months since my last post, I've received countless messages filled with advice and support. I wish I could thank each of you personally. Your words have been incredibly meaningful to me. I do my best to respond to everyone, though it might take some time. There have been many questions, and while I can't get to them all right now, I'm planning to provide a more detailed update soon. To quickly address the most common inquiries, I haven't read the letter yet. Shortly after my last update, I resumed therapy, and Dean and I agreed it was best to hand the letter over to my therapist. They'll help me decide if and when I'm ready to read it. Since my update, there's been no communication with my mom. I received messages on Facebook from her and Ashley's mom, which was unexpected, but I didn't open them. I've temporarily deactivated my Facebook account. Neither Kyle nor Ashley has attempted to contact me through social media. Kyle did ask my brother-in-law for my contact details, but he didn't give them out. That led to Ashley handing him the letter. Currently, my brother-in-law isn't in touch with his family. According to my brother-in-law, Kyle and Ashley are separated, though he's unsure if they're divorced. My dad visited town last week. He doesn't know where I live and has never been to my house. For the first time in nearly 20 years, we had an open and honest conversation. It was overwhelming, and it took me a few days to recover, but it was a necessary step. I learned a lot about my mom and the events from when Ashley got pregnant until my return 2 years ago. It's a lot to process, and it looks like therapy will be a part of my life for quite some time. I'll need to share more about this in a separate update. Regarding my little sister, she was never to blame. Despite being a teenager under immense pressure from our mom, she knew hiding the secret was wrong. After I left, her life became very difficult, with our mom placing unfair blame on her. Thank you all once again for your support and kind words. Many of you also sent messages for Dean, which he has read and appreciated. He truly is the best, and I wouldn't be where I am today without him. Remember to cherish your family members who stand by you through thick and thin. Take a moment to call your parents and siblings, letting them know how much they mean to you. It's in times like these that we realize the value of the good people in our lives. How do you like this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.